because the church really is. And when it comes to my history, I have always loved gospel music. I always loved the Hawkins, always loved like Andre Crouch, and Winans, just grew up on their music. And specifically Tremaine Hawkins was my favorite soloist. And so when I started really exploring music and finding out, okay, I really like this thing. How do I do this thing? How can I, do this music? Ended up joining a church in D.C. Where Richard Smallwood was the accompanist and actually the assistant director. And at the time, he was not like the Richard Smallwood. He was just a guy who's really good on the keys,
Right.
And so, and just sitting under him and looking at him and learning not only his style of gospel music, but the classical vibe that he brought to it. That was such a great time during the 80s with the choirs and things like that. And that just kind of ignited my soul. And I've been blessed to have, choir directors like Ricky Dillard and Byron Cage and Ernest Pugh as choir directors as well. And it was just an awesome experience to sit under them and to learn from them. And that really kind of launched me into doing my own history, writing my own songs and singing, the songs that I felt like God was giving me. So gospel music has just been such a huge part of my life. I have singers on both sides of my family, and it's just something that is so incredibly important to me in my life.
Sure.
And then not only just me as an artist, but then also starting businesses, that are related to gospel music to really try to support artists that are really trying to move this genre forward.
How is the financial health of the gospel music industry today? I mean, CDs, used to be really the thing for gospel artists. Not only they would make money from their tours, but then they would sell their CDs afterwards. Now that's pretty much gone away, or are there still a lot of folks that are still buying CDs? I mean, gospel seems to be very traditional.
Right, exactly. And you bring up a great point. Jazz and gospel artists can still get away with selling CDs, and especially when you're talking about at events, whether it's on tour or, any type of concert, at venues, you will definitely still see artists selling CDs. That's the only place that I've actually seen artists really sell CDs. But, as far as the financial health of gospel music, I think a lot of artists are struggling, just to be honest, and not even just with gospel, music in general, because of streaming, so consumers are now more interested in consuming it in a way where they don't necessarily have to buy it, but they just want access. And when that shift happened, once CDs started to kind of disappear, then it really was a artists really started to have financial issues because the streaming, for one stream, it's so minuscule.
Right.
What you get, it's nowhere near a penny.
Right.
For each stream.
They say it's like a third of a penny or something like that.
It's something really, really small. And even when I get my statement sometimes, I'm like, really? And so honestly, that means that the artist really has to be dedicated and really in it for the love of it. Until they start generating a fan base that's large enough to support their musical dreams. But now of course that's very different. If you're talking about an artist, a huge artist, a household name, then that's a little different.
Before we go, how can folks reach you?
So I can be found at Andrea R. Williams on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram at Andrea Renee Music, and then on Twitter at Andrea Renee Music.
All right.
Where you can find me.
Yeah, Andrea R. Williams, veteran in the gospel music industry, soon launching her new business called Worthy Calling, one-stop shop for new and upcoming gospel artists. Thanks for sharing a couple of tidbits. This is Doug Davis. You're listening to Your Black Business.
Thanks, Doug. For more on these stories, listen to the Black Information Network on the iHeartRadio app, or log on to BINnews.com, where you can hear this program in its entirety on demand. Also, follow us on social media at Black Information Network and on Twitter at BlackInfoNet. We thank you for joining us on The Black Perspective and look forward to continuing to have needed conversations for the Black community next week. I'm Mike Ivan on The Black.
On the Black Information Network, members of the white supremacist group the Proud Boys are being fined over $1 million for vandalism. In 2020, several members burned a Black Lives Matter sign and tore down a banner at a predominantly black church in Washington, D.C. The church sued the Proud Boys over the damages, and Judge Neil Kravitz approved the default judgment against them after the 4 named members failed to show up in court. A man with an active warrant related to the January 6th Capitol riot is due in court today after being arrested near former President Obama's Washington, D.C. home. Secret Service officials detained the 37-year-old suspect recently within blocks of the home. Federal prosecutors say a search of Taylor Taranto's van parked nearby turned up 2 guns, 400 rounds of ammunition, and explosives. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payne, your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
From humble beginnings to worldwide domination, its reach and influence are undeniable. So this 4th of July, the Black Information Network is proud to present 50 years of hip-hop. A celebration of the culture.
I am Doug Davis, and this is 50 Years of Hip-Hop, celebration of the culture. For the next 2 hours, we'll take a deep dive into the early beginnings of the genre before it really took shape into what we now call hip-hop. With us today is my good friend, who is a legendary DJ, recording artist, and MC, none other than the original TJ Solano. TJ, welcome to the Black Information Network, brother.
Yes,
Good to have you here, TJ. All right, how did we get it started?
well, hip-hop, for me, started in
I hope you crash.
neighborhoods.
All right, because God
Culture of hip-hop started with guys actually playing speakers up in the bar before I even knew what hip-hop was. The name and the culture came from dances, break dancing, from the 50s to the 60s. There's actually videos of people break dancing in that era. People were saying that it started in the 70s. It didn't become popular until the early days.
So when was the first time you heard the term hip-hop being used?
First time I heard that term was in the club one night. I heard DJ Solano just saying about hip-hop. And it's the first time I actually heard the phrase hip-hop. Whoever said they can't business that, it's not true. He actually started that band, and that band became what we call hip-hop back then. It wasn't called hip-hop. They were doing graffiti in the 50s also. It's something at the time all 5 girls were doing. They kept saying, who started what? I'm happy to say that it started in Brooklyn. Being from the 50s, I was around to actually travel with girls, and I've heard every year music from Eastern Parliament. They used to have DJs actually in a parade doing block parties every year for the people in Brooklyn, and that's before anybody else started. This was back in the 60s, and it wasn't hip-hop, it's the culture. This is the whole thing. Look, even when they say it started in 1973, that's not true.
We'll be back with more of our exclusive interview with legendary hip-hop pioneer TJ Swan. This is Doug Davis, and you're listening to 50 Years of Hip-Hop, celebration of the culture, right here on the Black Information Network. Happy holidays.
I'm Keith Urquhart on the Black Information Network. Pauli Murray was a lawyer, Episcopal priest, pioneering civil rights activist, and co-founder of the National Organization for Women. In 1944, when Murray was the only woman enrolled at Howard Law School, she asked her professors why not challenge the separate and separate but equal legal doctrine and argued that segregation was unconstitutional. This theory became the basis of her 1950 book, State Law on Race and Color. In 1965, Murray and Mary O. Eastwood co-authored Jane Crow and the Law, which argued that the Equal Protection Clause in the 14th Amendment should be applied to sex discrimination as well. Murray was named as co-author on the brief. Murray died in 1985. In the decades since, public awareness of her many contributions has only continued to grow. Murray was sainted by the Episcopal Church in 2012. And that's a fact. For these stories and more, go to BINnews.com. Black journalism at work.
Because truth matters. The Bay Area's BIN 910.
I'm Natasha Williams on your home for 24/7 News, San Francisco's BIN 910. The University of California system is responding to the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling that overturns affirmative action at colleges and universities. In a statement, African-American UC President Michael Drake said, "We are disappointed in the U.S. Supreme Court's decision to bar the use of race in college admissions." Drake added that student diversity remains a top priority at the University of California, that attracting, supporting, and retaining a diverse student body leads to better quality instruction and educational outcomes, significant community benefits, and overall fairness. Governor Gavin Newsom is doubling the number of state police officers in San Francisco as the city continues to try to stop fentanyl dealing. The move comes after Newsom deployed the California Highway Patrol to help SFPD in extra enforcement operations last month in the Tenderloin and South of Market neighborhood. Newsom is sending additional California Highway Patrol officers and California National Guard members. A spokesperson for Newsom says 7 to 10 CHP officers have been working on the operation since May, and that will increase from just over a dozen to up to 20 officers a day. And in nearby Santa Clara, they say the war on fentanyl is fought on two fronts. According to NBC Bay Area, that was one of the key messages Thursday from local Mexican authorities, trying to stress what their country is doing to battle the opioid epidemic. This as a dire warning is issued from local leaders that the fentanyl crisis could skyrocket the arrival of summer.
We worry that during that time we're going to see more use of fentanyl in our community.
Fentanyl deaths jumped 41% last month in Santa Clara, and officials report 7 more overdose deaths have been recorded this month. The Council General of Mexico in San Jose joined California leaders in expressing what worries her.
It's really a concern for us, and we have been starting to spread the voice about these terrible impacts of the consumption of these pills.
She says Mexico is collaborating with the United States to detain those traffickers, but it's important also to focus on consumption and distribution here as fatal overdoses spike. And as we wrap up Black Music Month, how about an oldie but a goodie by the late rap icon, Tupac Shakur. Tupac spent most of the 1990s in Oakland, where the influences of other San Francisco area artists are said to have had a great influence on him. Part of MacArthur Boulevard between Grant Avenue and Van Buren is now named Tupac Shakur Way. Tupac was only 25 years old when he died in 1996. And that's what's happening around the Bay Area. I'm Natasha Williams. I'm your home for 24/7 News, San Francisco's BIN 910.
Want to make a difference? African American patients only have a 25% chance of finding a bone marrow match. Make a difference and join the National Bone Marrow Registry at bethematch.org. Again, that's bethematch.org.
You need to know.
This is where Black News comes first.
The Bay Area, BIN 910.
This hour of news is brought to you by Sony, a crowdfunding partner of the
you had Chevrolet, the National Newspaper Publishers Association, and one of the best and brightest HBCU students in the country, the 2023 Discover the Unexpected Fellowship. These amazing young ladies and gentlemen are driving change with the summer experience of a lifetime. Brought to you by the 2024 Chevy Trax. To learn more about the program and follow the student experience, visit nnta.org/ChevyDTU. The 114th NAACP National Convention. Attracting innovative change makers, thought leaders, and creators to network and exchange ideas.
Because music
Going down in our community, the Congressional Black Caucus has sent a letter to President Joe Biden urging him to address biased immigration policies.
The Black Information Network is 24/7 news. A boil water advisory in parts of the Memphis, Tennessee area.
For and by us.
The Bay Area's BIN 910 and on the iHeartRadio app. Bank of America Corporation is proud to be a founding partner who shares and supports the mission of the Black Information Network.
In 1949, station WDIA in Memphis, Tennessee became the first to employ an all-black on-air announcing staff, broadcasting blues, gospel, and various talk programs. Acquiring the right to broadcast at a higher wattage, the station boosted their signal from 250 to 50,000 watts and was now capable of reaching as far north as Missouri and as far south as the Gulf Coast. That range included about 10% of the black population of the United States, in turn garnered substantial advertising revenue. Influencing every black radio station to follow, WDIA assigned itself the moniker the Mother Station of Negroes. It also earned the nickname the Goodwill Station because it broadcast public service bulletins. Later that year, WERD in Atlanta began broadcasting as the first black-owned radio station. Powerful AM stations such as WLAC in Nashville began broadcasting black-oriented news and rhythm and blues music across entire regions of the United States, drawing both black and white audiences. And that's a fact. I'm Big Sue on the Black Information Network. The opinions, beliefs, and viewpoints expressed in this commentary are those of the author and do not necessarily represent those of BIN and its founding partners and employees.
I'm Mo Kelly on BIN with your 2-minute warning. Great Britain hates Meghan Markle. Black British commentator Trevor Phillips, in conversation with Piers Morgan, here we go, had the dirty nerve to suggest that Markle's frayed relationship with the royal family was due to her supposed inability to effectively learn to be black. I shit you not.
She herself said that until she became the princess, she never regarded herself simply as black, and that's understandable. She grew up in Los Angeles, in the most wealthy black enclave anywhere in the United States, Parkview, Windsor Hill, in Los Angeles. She went to a private Roman Catholic school, and in a sense, race was never really part of her background. And actually, you knew, anybody who's from back, who comes from a black family, knew that this was not her territory. When she made this supposedly incendiary claim about somebody asking about what Archie's skin color will be. Well, actually, every black family, of course, the minute that you know there's somebody covered, that's what you're speculating about. For white people, it's what color hair. And by the way, for us,
Particularly in a family, one parent is white and one parent is not.
I mean,
All parents, for example.
but the point I really want to make about Meghan Markle is that she had to learn to be black on the job, as it were. And I think she made a bit of a mess of it. She didn't take advice. And that's, in some sense, is why I think they squandered the opportunity to demonstrate something important about this country.
Learn to be black. Didn't take advice. This chocolate-colored coffee accident joker needs to quit it. I'm Mo Kelly at Mr. Mo Kelly on social media, and that's your 2-minute warning on the Black Information Network.
The power of information.
Black news here and now.
The Bay Area's BIN 910.
Here's what's trending on the Black Information Network. College colleges and universities are reacting to the affirmative action ban, and all hope may not be lost as the Biden administration is planning a new course to offer student loan borrowers relief. Keep listening for more. I'm Amber Pete from the Black Information Network.
Sports on the Black Information Network.
Four NFL players are out of luck. Isaiah Rodgers and Rashad Berry of the Indianapolis Colts and free agent Demetrius Taylor were suspended indefinitely through at least the 2023 season for betting on NFL games. In addition, Tennessee Titans offensive tackle Nicholas Petit-Ferrer has been suspended 6 games for betting on other sports at the workplace. The 4 suspensions were announced by the NFL. Indianapolis has waived both Rodgers and Berry as a consequence of their suspensions. The NFL recently announced that it planned to reinforce its gambling policy to players. The 6 key rules are: don't bet on the NFL, don't gamble at your team facility, while traveling for a road game or staying at a team hotel, don't have someone bet for you, don't share inside information, don't enter a sports book during the NFL playing season, and don't play daily fantasy football. This comes at the same time the NCAA has released new sports wagering guidelines. The organization says the punishment handed down to student athletes will be based on the violation. Players who bet on their team, provide inside information, or influence the outcome of a game due to sports betting could face a permanent loss of collegiate eligibility. Players who place a bet on a different school could lose up to half a season of eligibility. Other violations would depend on how much they bet. Student athletes remain banned from sports gambling of any kind. Sports at 14 and 44 minutes past each hour. I'm Morgan Wood on the Black Information Network.
Born into slavery in 1800 on a South Carolina plantation, when it was illegal for enslaved people to be literate, David Drake would become the first enslaved potter to inscribe his work, sometimes with poetry. I wonder where is all my relations? Friendship to all and every nation, an act of resistance that some speculate cost him his leg. Known as Dave the Potter, he produced alkaline glazed stoneware jugs. It is estimated he created as many as 40,000 pieces in his lifetime. Due to the systemic erasure of enslaved people's history, biographical information is sparse, but auction records indicate David Drake has several enslavers before emancipation. Recent attention to David's work has also exposed the art world's long-standing blind spot for the utilitarian, even though jugs and quilts were the only available outlet for subjugated genius. In 2020, one of his jugs sold for $369,000. His descendants have received no reparations. And that's a fact. I'm Winston Tishon for the Black Information Network.
Speak out about what's happening in your community. Call the Black Information Network hotline at 855-500-9BIN. Entertainment news on the Black Information Network. In honor of the 50th anniversary of hip-hop, we're spotlighting some of the films that celebrate the culture. Like Hustle and Flow, a 2005 movie that follows a Memphis pimp named DJ, played by Terrence Howard, who's trying to get a record deal when an old friend visits. Miami rapper Rick Ross said the end of that movie inspired him to be a rapper. Speaking of rappers, Tupac starred in several movies like Poetic Justice, Above the Rim, and Juice.
You said that last time? I was kind of tripping, right?
All Eyes on Me is a 2017 biopic featuring the late rapper, and Tupac was also mentioned in the 2009 biopic about rapper Biggie titled Notorious. 50 Cent tells the story of his life in the 2005 film Get Rich or Die Trying. The late DMX played alongside Nas in Belly, a movie deemed a classic for the culture. Straight Outta Compton features the story of West Coast rap group NWA. Rapper Ice Cube, who was featured in the film, has gone on to star in and produce several movies for the culture like Boys in the Hood, Barbershop, and the Friday series, to name a few. Other movies featuring hip-hop culture include Wild Style, Breakin', Brown Sugar, House Party, and we can't forget Spike Lee's 1989 film, Do the Right Thing. Celebrating 50 years of hip-hop, I'm Morgan Wood on the Black Information Network. I'm Tariq Lowe with Maybe You Didn't Know. Civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964. King was the youngest person to ever win the award at the age of 35, but he was not the first black man to win this prize. Maybe you didn't know that Ralph Bunche was. In 1950, he received the award for his late 40s work as a United Nations mediator in the Palestine conflict. Ralph Bunche believes in his work. The Nobel Committee referred to one of his lectures in which Bunche talked about the qualities mediators should possess.